Hello, fellow wanderers. I'm Endri, and thank you for joining me as we wander through Sunless Sea with the Submariner DLC, which I got for free as a person who bought the early access version of the game. Sunless Sea is a roguelite sailing game with very Cthulhian aspects to it. It's linked to the Fallen London web browser game, and Sunless Skies will be coming out sometime in the future. They've just done a Kickstarter for it, but expect a lot of reading in this and a lot of skipping around or missing certain bits of content between videos as I kill time and make progress. But let's go ahead and start a new game and see what this is all about. So yeah, this is a interesting little game. We're going to have a few goals for our first few captains here. One of which is just going to be to survive long enough to accomplish any goals. But we'll see, and we'll get into the game proper once we load in. It is a very text-heavy and story-driven game. I'll be reading a lot of text, assuming my voice holds out. So here we are. We are in Fallen London. We are at the Woolstack docks, and we have a ship that you can't quite see at the moment. 3 decades ago, in the reign of Victoria, London was stolen by bats. Now it lies a mile below the surface. It was dreadfully inconvenient for everyone, but it opened a vast black ocean to you. Welcome to the Untersee. So we can decide on a past, or we can have a past wreathed in shadows. Decide later. If you want to get out to sea immediately, choose this. Opportunities to revisit your past will arrive later. We are going to take a past wreathed in shadows for reasons. So every time we do something, a bunch of this information is going to pop up here. I'm not going to be reading this. You can pause to read it if you'd like. So we're in Fallen London, and we've got a few options. We have the advice for captains, and this is a bunch of text. It's the tutorial. We are going to sell it, and I will go over things as we get to them. A passenger, someone in the docks, wants to board your ship. Agree to carry the anxious university student to Hunter's Keep. He has no money, so the other captains have no interest, but he's a passionate youth and promises that his studies on Lorne Luke will be rewarding enough. So we're going to go ahead and click OK. He jumps for joy as you agree to take him aboard. Thank you, thank you. Please take me to Hunter Keep right away. A Lorne Luke, a full dead Lorne Luke washed ashore. I'm doing my thesis on them. Do you know they can digest human memory? And I may never have a better chance to study one up close. This is a strange game. So we can see our lodgings here. Here you may catch up with your correspondence, rest or retire, all together from seafaring life. The better your lodgings, the better the quality of your retirement. Naturally. Read the morning papers. The Unexpurgated Gazette, the magazine formerly known as the London Magazine, the Spiteful Trumpeter, news. So we're going to go ahead and read that, and we'll get one recent news. This is a storage item that does not take hold space. Echo Bazaar, the enigmatic marketplace, has increased its tax on love stories. The Trader Express has forbidden signing in the street outside her palace. Trader Emperor, sorry. The anarchists of the Calendar Council have inexplicably dynamited a drinking fountain. The Ministry of Public Decency has located and destroyed a nest of gallblighter wasps. Expect me to mispronounce things. So we'll go back to London here and see what we have. So here we have some options of what we can do in London. Let's go ahead and start with the Admiralty's Survey Office. They'll pay for information from Z captains. Find out what and how. So here, the Admiralty picket fleets and its intelligence networks are long gone. The Survey Office pays Z captains a small sum for recent information. Visit and investigate ports to gain port reports and trade them in here. First time you trade a port report, you'll gain Admiralty's favor, which has various uses. Is there anything else particular they need? Well, they can be sure of our discretion. Speak to our agent there and return, see what you're rewarded. Visit the port below and return to London. Retrieve information from the Iron and Misery Company Funging Station. Alright, that's fairly close to where we start. We could leave. Admiralty reports are going to be how we get a lot of money. And the only other thing we're really worried about here is An immigrant will pay to be taken north to Venderblight. So we'll go ahead and take a person. It's oddly difficult to die in fallen London, but when a Londoner is too tatty and wretched to live, they wrap themselves in bandages and take ship for the tomb colonies. Your crew carts one of these aboard in padded coffins. They'll sleep there until the journey is done. Tomb colonists in your hold. Take them north to the colony of Venderblight and sell them there. Now, there are several things we can see here. This is our hold on our ship. Here's our ship's stats for combat. Here's our cargo, our maximum cargo, our supplies, our fuel. These are very important. They're also up on this bar here. Our hold space is here, and our hull is here. This is our speed. This is terror. The higher this gets, the more we're basically screwed over. Invictus token is just a thing that says, hey, you're doing autosaves, you're not manually saving, which we will probably stick with because, to be honest, the game is pretty stable and it saves a lot. So we know nothing of the Undersea, and these are some qualities here. Nothing too important. Our only officer is our mascot, which gives us +1 to hearts. We have stats up here. We'll get into these in a bit. Shops, so we could buy and sell various things here. Because we're probably going to Venderblight soon, I am going to just buy a bunch of mushroom wine until our hold is full. Well, more to the point, until we're out of our very little starting money. And that's pretty much all we could do here. You can buy better ships, but we're a long way from that. Click the X, and that will put us on this screen. You can pause at any time by pressing spacebar, and we're going to click E. That will undock us. L turns our light on and off. Light is important. If your light is on, your terror grows more slowly. If it is off, your terror grows more quickly, but you save fuel. It can be important to save fuel. So we have a few goals for this first captain, but we'll kind of get into them as we discover them. For now, we're basically just going to sail around. The other advantage to having your light on is you discover islands further out, and we're gaining things called fragments. That's this bar here. When you get a full bar, you get secrets. Secrets are used to level up your stats. Iron is how hard you hit. Mirrors is how quickly you can acquire targets. Veils is how hard it is for people to spot your ships. Pages is how many secrets you need, how many fragments you need to get a secret, and hearts is used for certain events. So here we have the Hunter's Keep. Inspect the Lorn Fluke with the anxious university students. It lies on the shore just beyond the hill. You can make out the fluke spikes over the grass. So let's do this event. The anxious student rushes by you, whooping, but he stops on the hilltop. On the shore, standing before the massive dread needles, is a drowning Annuncian postal uniform. He glowers up at you. This is not where the fluke belongs, the drowning cries in a plummy voice. It should be taken elsewhere already. Elsewhere. It already has been delivery label, which means I have to deliver it. The student snares. Sod your label. Help me haul the beast to Station 3. My advisor in the college has arranged a room for us. First section to study. My work will benefit us both. So we can transport it to Nuncio, which is another island, or Station 3. I'm going to go ahead and pick Station 3 this time. The Lorn Fluke is tied by very reluctant sailors to drag behind your stern. On your deck, the anxious student twitches with delight. I can't believe what we have. His hand tightens on the railing. The drowning postman stares up at you both. It's natural for corpses to grimace. When the corpse is still alive and actively upset at you, it's additionally distressing. We are bound for Station 3. Alright, so here we have Hunter's Keep, our first island. We have a 75% chance to succeed on spying on the house. We're going to try it. We failed. So if you pass that, you get some fragments. We failed. You peer through a half-open French window into a grand parlor, grand in size, if a little reduced in style by dust and neglect. A dark-haired, pale young woman bends earnestly over a piano keyboard. Another, fair-haired, but unmistakably her sister, sprawls on the sofa with a book. A third sits by the fireplace, staring sorrowfully into the embers. A log pops, and the woman by the fire gives a violent start. You cannot restrain a start of your own, and her eyes meet yours through the glass. She claps her hand to her mouth in shock. There is nothing to do but step apologetically into the room. A visitor, the pianist, the youngest, cries. The next youngest chuckles. The eldest, who you frighten, sighs. Excuse us, she says. Visitors are rare. You are very welcome. I am Cynthia. The noisy one is Phoebe. The cheerful one is Lucy. You are at a good time for lunch. Will you join us? So, we could go ahead and reconnoiter the island. Plunging cliffs, soft green lawns, a well tucked away in a fold of the grounds. Anything else? Sea's silence. The ships rarely come here. Nothing changes, even the weather. The house is the heart of the isle, the house and the sisters, but the Admiralty may be happy to know that nothing's changed, at least. That's how you get port reports. And there's no lunch today. Gray made it clear through a series of unwelcome growls that Phoebe, Lucy, and Thursday are all three indisposed. No lunch today, apparently. However, we have news. So if we turn in this news, as you can see, when we don't have something that awaits us, we'll get to that in a bit. And we do have news. We can click this button. You ask the sulfuride mare to carry a few hints of your news to the sisters. Oddly enough, she comes back with a message their headaches are cured, and you're invited to lunch. So now we could pick one of these to have lunch with. I'm going to start with Phoebe. Phoebe is soft-voiced, watchful, and unpredictable. Phoebe has a story to tell of two lovers parted by water, of a raven that carried messages, of a fragment of the moon. She beats time on the table as she speaks, as if a song only she can hear. The effect is hypnotic. Your attention drifts out through the skylight of the dining room to the false stars glittering in the roof of the cavern. You drift like a puffball spore. The Untersee shimmers below, islands like mineral specimens on black velvet. Ships bob like wood chips between the islands. Vast spying things pulse in the depths. There's a scent like the scent before a storm. The storm came, said Phoebe quietly. Everything changed. Somewhere in there, you finished the last course. The scowling maid reluctantly serves cheese and Bath Oliver biscuits. We get a bunch of stuff. Supplies are nice. Fragments don't change because we have more than 150. We now have Storm's attention. This is important for various things. And a memory of distant shores, which is just an item we can carry with us. That's all we can really do at Hunter's Keep. So let's go ahead and keep exploring. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of reading. Fortunately, I'll be doing most of it for you. So, the thing about this game is, large portions of the sea, of the Z, sorry, I probably should have called it the sea. Large portions of the map are randomly generated with each captain. So, while things spawn in the same general areas, they are not guaranteed to be in the exact same spots. This is important because there's a particular event we want to get to on a particular island, and if the island spawns as far away as possible, it could be a very long return trip. If it spawns as close as possible, it could be a very quick trip. We're hoping for quick trip. Let's point our light over here. There we go. I just wanted to get that particular item there. That lantern there means we have an event. You get one every 60 seconds that you're on the sea. Those are bats. Bats are actually hostile to us, but the moment we hit this light, they can't do anything. Something is happening to the man that bandages. He sighs, he groans, he clutches his chest. His bandages burst. Froth moths clamber from the tatterns. Nothing of him remains. The frost moths, icy wings shining, take to the air, spiral, dissipate, and are gone. He won't pay for his passage now. At least he left his belongings for sale. So we get 100 echoes. We lost our tomb call. It's just we got an outledged artifact, which is nice to have, and 2 supplies. Also nice to have. We have several events we can do here. We're going to do Explore Venderbright. Here, they favor candlelight over gaslight. The shadows are swagged like cobwebs. The tomb colonists stand still enough to be mistaken for sculpture, till they laugh or cough. One building in 3 seems abandoned. So we're going to go ahead and explore. We can search warily, or we can take a picnic. Creepers climb from the shattered pyramids. An owl blinks at you from the idol's mouth. In the undergrowth, a cave lizard munches decorously on a white cricket. This place seems peaceful. Rest a while. We're going to do that. We don't have very good mirrors, so it's unlikely to succeed at this. So we're going to go ahead and picnic. We lost 1 crew, which is horrible. The complacent stroker sits in comfortable-looking stone. It rolls over, tipping him on an unseen pit of sorrow spiders who swarm over him, pump up full of venom, and fight over his eyes. By the time you've recovered his body for burial, the piece of the afternoon is quite soured. So that's unfortunate. We had the bad event outcome of that, so we gained terror. And that's just how it is. The other thing we want to do here, gather gossip. Along the coast of the Untersee, it is remarkably hard to die. The decrepit and nearly dead who leave London become tomb colonists and settle here in bandaged peace. They don't give up their ties to home or their politics. You gather a haul of complex clues, enough to keep your contacts in London interested. So that's how you get your port report here. Z Captains, the first curator gives an audience. The first curator is responsible for the preservation of the tomb colonies. Been here much longer than London, like all the oldest tomb colonists, but even tomb colonists dissolve in the end. Its time is close. No more light, the ubiquitous Steward cautions you. The curator is terribly afraid of moths. He opens the door and you step into near darkness. A pair of luminous lamplighter bees buzz in the latticed ivory tube. There is no other source of light. A bandaged shape no larger than child lies crumpled on a couch. It lifts its head with obvious effort. It takes several seconds for you to distinguish its voice from the soft buzz of the bees. Listen to a whispered request. Z Captain, silk skin, not much left of me. I will go into the Grand Sanatorium. Bring me colors, 7 colors. Pay well. Cosmogon, Irigo, Pelican, Steward has list. Find them. Come here, across the wide black sea. So we're going to go ahead and accept the commission. Thank you. This poor flesh searched for colors. It collapses, rustling back on the couch. Even the effort of speaking seems to have diminished a little. The audience is over. As the door opens, it shrinks from the finger of light that reaches across the floor. Outside, the obsequious Steward nods. The book? Yes, the book. He hands you a slim, illustrated volume. The curator is old as dust. We will all be grateful if you could do us one last favor. This starts a very long, rather interesting quest, but we'll be getting into that later. We're pretty well done here. These bats are going to be a problem, so we're actually going to sail this way instead. Here's the map. It's very black. Oops. I hope they decide to leave me alone. I really don't want to fight them. They're not overly difficult, but they are rather annoying. Oh, I nearly left without doing what I was supposed to do. Those bats distracted me. That's what I'm going to blame. Yes, the bats. Don't worry about the fact that we don't have the light on and terror is rising. We actually need terror to go up a little bit for a couple of events we want to do. But I do want to go to the shops here, and different places sell different things. I sell a little bit of that mushroom wine for not a whole lot of profit, but there you go. Most of our early profit is actually going to come from the port reports we turn in. This little ship here is actually fairly fuel efficient, which is nice. And our crew is fairly small at the moment, so we don't eat a lot of supplies. So it's fairly cheap for us to wander around. There's a swirl. That will be important later. I see a bat swarm. I would like to not run into the bat swarm. Thank you. So we're going to go ahead and sail east a little bit just to see what is directly east. If we click Z, we can release a homing Z-bat, which will let us know if there are any islands close. There are not. It looks like we've got the labyrinth of eels here. We are in the snares. So I think there is an island somewhere in the snares. I just don't remember where. I could be wrong, though. We're going to head south now, just to see what's to the south of us. We're going to explore as close to the Fallen London area as we can, because we are fairly fragile. Now, there is a chance, and not even a small one, that we'll die before we accomplish anything meaningful. But hopefully that will not be the case. It looks like we have Pigboat, which I guess makes sense. I think Pigboat tends to spawn here in the snares. Pigboat Island is a place we will be visiting many, many times. This is going to be a lot of reading. This is a very story-heavy event, but it is one of the more interesting events in the game. I do rather like it. It's one I tend to do regardless of how long I intend the captain to survive. Alright. There is no habitation in sight, no market, only an old rotting dock. A stretch of sand thickens into damp black earth, from which sprout stunted palms. Not quite. Tall fungal growths with frond-like caps, as if someone had sculpted the idea of a tree from a mushroom. See what waits you. War? As soon as you step on the quay, you hear clamors, shouts, and shooting. You can see, off in the distance, smoke rising from beyond the hill, and dots of fire flecking the horizon. Two tiny figures stand a little further down the quay, unmoving, or key, I guess, as if waiting your approach. The following is extract from the popular Diary of a Sea Captain, from London to Irem and what he did there before we arrived, washed ashore on Mutton Island, subsequently serialized in the unexpurgated Gazette. The author's identity remains unknown. The Tale of Pigmote Island, in which a delegation is made, a choice is presented, war is declared, a most singular treasure is sought by all, and a new empire is founded with tooth and claw. Okay. I'm going to take a drink here real quick, and you can start getting ahead of me in the reading. The figures were rodents. To my left was a Rattus Faber, wearing goggles, a blacksmith apron, and an assortment of tools. To my right, an unusually large guinea pig, wearing a helmet and breastplate reminiscent of nothing so much as high Middle Ages. The rat stepped forward first and bowed. Welcome, Captain, to Ratstar Island. I am Edgar, 2nd Chief Engineer of the 3rd Rat Brigade. I invite you to avail yourself of food and fuel at our expense. The only cost to you is a choice. The rat stepped back at precisely the same moment with what appeared to be the ease of long habit. The guinea pig scuttled forward and made a declamatory chirp. Welcome, Captain, to the Isle of Cavia. I am Lady Augusta Devereaux Swinch of the Blackwater Swinches, seneschal to our king, Gracenaw. First of his name, I invite you to avail yourself of food and fuel at our expense. The only cost to you is a choice. The two stood at attention, looking at me expectantly. All right. The two regal rodents squatted, both seeking my support. I knew I had to choose carefully. The rats let you repair your ship. The seneschals sell a particular item that is otherwise annoying to get your hands on. They both kind of go the same direction, though. I spoke to the chief engineer. His eyes had waved cold glint to them, and he wore his scars like jewels. A rat in the making. I asked the chief engineer to elaborate. He looked at me for a long, measured moment before speaking gruffly. We came to this island to make a home for ourselves, away from London, its cats and snuffers, its rat-skin suits. We came to live as citizens of our own republic. We came with our tools, our teeth, and clever hands, and we made a beautiful city by the light of the rat star that shone brightly and blue on Mount Ararat. The chief engineer nodded towards the distant hill. One day we braved the depths of the chicken woods, and from the top of Mount Ararat we plucked the rat star to be our light, our beacon. But the pigs of Cavie saw the light, and they lusted for it, and so sent armies to rule and steal our star. We will not permit them to take what is ours. We'll resist to our last breath. Will you join us in defeating them? How did an armored guinea pig manage to look regal? The seneschal cleared her throat with a delicacy to rival the Duchess's own before speaking. Gracenaw the king, our lord and sovereign, full 7 months had sojourned on the sea, conquered this land and won the southern main. Now no fortress against him shall remain, no city walls be left for him to gain, save the rats that squeak behind mountain. Unlikely was the lamb of our deliverance, sure shall be our glories in their fall, when our lady's eye restored be to our hall. Seneschal composed herself and added, We saw truth and beauty by the light of our lady's eye on Mount Caveat. But the rats, with their guns and their chatter and their peasants' politics, stole it from us. We'll subjugate them and take it back. They are a rabble, and we will raise them with the steel-shod velvet of our paws. Will you join us? I have heard more than enough. We have to choose. I'm going to choose the seneschal. This is a pointless option. Yeah, I'll click it anyway. Surely their commonalities were more numerous than their differences. Perhaps I could help them get along. My words help the rich achievements. The chief of the seneschal shared a look, then regarded me with scornful amusement. Yes, you're obviously much cleverier than us. Oh, much, murmured the seneschal. You clearly know much better than us, than we know ourselves. Apparently, idealism would not help here. They have to pick one. I'm going to favor the seneschal. So charm or fondness for London's rat-skin coats that swayed me, perhaps a little bit of both. At any rate, I was keen to find out more about their civilization. We are the friend of the Cavies. We get fuel and supplies. Nice. I bowed before the seneschal and who purred with pleasure while the chief engineer gnashed his teeth but kept his distance. You have chosen wisely, Captain, to the seneschal. Come and I will explain our situation to you in greater detail. Oh, dear God! This seneschal led me to the southern side of the island, skirting the chicken woods. We passed through a number of raised mounds of earth mixed with fortifying strips of mushroom flesh, which I supposed to be makeshift walls. The settlement was dazzling. This side of the island appeared to be absolutely wreathed in scintillac. The Cavies' dwelling was awash with silver phosphorescence. It was a large colony. Most noticeable was the steam pinnace, the impossible lamb that had run aground, from which the Cavies came and went, bearing supplies. To the right of the ship, further down the beach, a large group of Cavies lay on bundles of colorful cloth, whining and wailing as if in pain. To the left of the ship was a ramshackle tent of poles and linen, in front of which guinea pigs clashed against each other and sharpened their teeth. In the center of the village was a covered dais, veritably festooned with colorful cloth and guarded by well-decorated knights. I suspected this is where King Nawclaw kept counsel. Be welcome, Captain, in the kingdom of Cavia, capital of our isle, and blessed by the light of Our Lady's eye. Sancho spoke solemnly, but with a hint of sadness to her words. Or so it was, and shall be again. I must speak to our king and prepare your arrival. My page will show you the area, and bring the sight of his splendor in good time. Page? A much smaller guinea pig, its fur braided with slender strips of parabola linen, scurried over. The seneschal took her leave. I visited the hospital. Were those guinea pigs quarantined? An elderly-looking cabby greeted me, eyeing me gravely. Many of us sickened during the voyage, a rotting in our teeth, a weakness in the flesh. The isle was our salvation. The stronger among us made us a pilgrimage toward the pool of Our Lady's light, and then, miracle of miracles, they were cured. They bathed in her, they drank her sweet waters, and the strong brought the weak to her in turn. Soon we were thriving again, bearing our children and raising them in love, to love Our Lady's eye and see in their deliverance. The elder looked sorrowful at Sycadar's care. Since the rats stole her, the sickness has returned. All this life has been a mockery of hers, and we gain from it no benefit. The only thing, the elder ears voiced and flattened in a hiss, that helps our condition is the flesh, the very hearts and livers of the rats who stole her from us. Visit the steam pinnace on the beach. Was this indeed the impossible lamb? Wasn't it reported overrun by rats? The page shittered while I put to the vessel. Rats? Never. The splendor of Cavia overtook this vessel. I was born here, the first native of Cavia, but all our elders remember the voyage. It was hard, they say, but we were harder. But the sea is black and unkind. We were lost in the dark for weeks, and no one speaks of those terrible times. But out of the darkness came the light of Our Lady's eye, guiding us here to our own isle. In time we will ride the waves again, perhaps once we have recovered our eye. Is it not splendid? It certainly may have been at one time, but I could see the hull had been severely damaged by the Scintillac reef. There was no way the Cavies could hope to repair it themselves. Whatever the page said, they were stranded here. I visited the barracks. What chance could guinea pig stand against the weaponed might of the Ratus Faber? Page led me to the barracks, where the knights didn't deign to speak to one so undecorated as I. The page, however, was eager to answer my questions. The rat have no weapons, none to speak of. What is a gun without a bullet, a sword without a blade? Ours are the supplies, the knives, the soft stuffs and glory. Their teeth are sharp, it is true, while ours, the page hesitated as the knights glowered at him, are sharper. All praise to the flower of the house of Cavie. One knight preened, while another grunted indifference, working a whetstone along his top front teeth. They watched, a particular vigorous swipe knocked a hole incisor out of place. It landed on the ground in a black and bloody mess. The knight gasped, grasped the tooth, and vanished from sight. Another glared in a way that dared me to make something of it. I had seen enough. The page led me, crouching at first and then on my knees, before King Gracenaw and the seneschal. The king was the largest guinea pig I had ever seen, easily twice the size of the largest knight in his retinue. The seneschal looked positively dainty next to him. We are told, intoned the king, that you have promised your assistance to the house of Cavie. It's agreeable to us, but what form shall the assistance take? So, we have two options. Irons and veils, we have an equal chance, or we could offer only our advice. We want to pick one of these. I'm going to pick veils. We might fail. We did not. We actually succeeded first try. I'm quite impressed. When should you shout to catch light? The rats would not even know they had been there. Probably. I spent a few hours scouting the rat's shoreline, determining the best point of approach. There, a cove thick with chickenwood, too small and cramped for guards to fear the mooring of a boat. My crew rowed me toward the very knife edge of the shadow cast by the blazing eye, and I carefully swam the rest. From shore, it was an easy enough matter to pick my way towards the settlement. Once I was within 20 feet of the eye, I sprinted. The rat shouted in alarm and scurried towards me, but my legs easily outpaced them. I smothered the eye in my wet clothing and bound with it towards the boat, waiting in the shadows while the rats around me fired wildly into the sudden dimness, wailing their loss to the Z. The cabbies rewarded me suitably on my return. And we get some stats here, and we get a bunch of fuel, which is nice. We can invite the cabbie to join us. I see no real reason to do that. The survivors being treated poorly, but the rift did not seem entirely insurmountable. I am going to try and speak up on behalf of the rats. Generous in victory. Oh, we got the good outcome. Very nice. I appealed to the house of the cabbie's grace and good breeding, and praised King Gracepaw's magnanimity. Perhaps the rats knew not what they did in stealing the eye. Perhaps they were only stumbling about in the dark for a light, as the cabbies were themselves while lost at sea. The seneschal and king exchanged a look. The seneschal murmured something to the king's ear, and he purred decisively. To err is marine, to forgive Cavine. He looked towards the chief engineer. If you will cede all rights to Our Lady's eye and help us place it back in its pool of holy pilgrimage, and if you agree to terms of tribute. Trade, hissed chief engineer. King Grace-Naw chattered his teeth, but the seneschal stepped forward and raised her voice. Perhaps further negotiation is possible. As we left, I saw the page timidly approaching an albino rat to inquire about fishing nets. And so we forged a peace. That's good. It really helps later on. We eaten our fill and the business was concluded. Time to continue our voyage to see what other wonders and terrors awaited us. You finish your diary entry and the final morsels of delicious rat flesh. Cabbies line up to salute you as you leave your victory, escort you to the ship through the foundation of the new kingdom. That's all for now. Our hunger quality is gone, and there's not really much else we can do. We can purchase Scintillac. It costs 105, which is more than we can sell it for, so we're definitely not doing that. We could attempt to steal the lady's eye. Their might is rather high, though, so we're not going to. And I would rather try and do this event properly. So we're pretty much done here. I think that's actually going to be all we're going to do for this part. As you can see, I have to spend a lot of time reading. So until our paths cross again, have fun and stay safe, everyone.